Hi, everyone. I'm making this video in response to a couple of emails that I had regarding a series of 3 videos that I put out a couple of weeks ago. People wanted me to kind of clarify. A lot of the questions centered around, how would Forrest tie into this? When I was talking about his ID and, how did I jump from Yellowstone all the way over to Bighorn, all because of what's on his ID and other things that I had read to thrill of the chase. The first thing I want to say is obviously it's no surprise. I've been talking about this in every video that I've had since last year, that I believe that you need the thrill of the chase in order to solve the poem. So where are the connections? Well, the first one I wanted to point out here is, and a lot of people have noticed this, if you don't have the book, I'm putting this out here so you can see it. On the inside, the front and back cover, there's a lot of pictures. Okay, this is right inside the book as soon as you open it. And one of the things that's in there is an ID card. And I rotated it and then zoomed in so that you can clearly see what's going on here. There's a couple things you're going to notice about this right away. Okay, it's got his address where he lived in Temple, Texas. And this is his actual address. Nothing wrong there. Forrest Fenn's got his address. He's a male. Okay, but it says he's 17 here. Okay, and when he was 17, I guess he was 160 or 150 pounds, 6 foot tall, brown hair, blue eyes. Okay. But something right off the bat is clearly wrong with this. Look at the picture that he has in there. Okay, obviously he's not 17 years old in that picture, and he's not 160 pounds, and he's not 6 feet tall. That picture, to me, clearly doesn't belong there. And I guess any sane person looking at it would pretty much think the same thing. So there might be a hint going on here, right? Now, also notice that we have on the right edge, we have part of a postage stamp that's ripped here that looks like, it at one point was on top of this photo. Well, there's a lot of stuff in that postage stamp that people have talked about. For example, people have found connections to some Deep Purple songs. One, there's the Gypsy song, and Knocking at Your Back Door song, and Smoke on the Water, and so on from Deep Purple. So there's connections to Deep Purple, but I don't really believe that any of that is a hint. Most likely, this is the hint here. That stamp is probably a 1938 Thomas Jefferson stamp, okay, a 3-cent stamp. And there's connections to that stamp if you read the hints in the book. But in addition to that, okay, take a look, at the other photos in the book. Here's a picture of Forrest with his father and Skippy and June, and that's Bessie the cow. And Forrest, I'm guessing he's probably about 6 years old here, maybe, perhaps. So take a good look at that head, the way it's tilted, the lighting and everything, and the face. Okay, now here's the other picture from him. This is from, I think, 1936 or 37. And by the way, I got to give credit to this photo to Dal Neitzel. It was on his website, and basically, he did a video. It's actually a lot of videos on Dal's site you probably want to check out. In the video, he shows this Fenn family, and where they are here is they're camped on the side of the road, just if you were heading west, just before the fishing bridge. There used to be a whole bunch of tents. You used to be allowed to camp in tents there, and that's pretty much where the Fenn stayed from 1930 to 1937 every summer. It wasn't until the following year that they actually started going to his grandfather's cabin over in West Yellowstone. This is where they camped instead. But again, if you look at Forrest in this picture, again, he's about 6 years old here, right? So that picture is a lot like what's in here. So what can we take from that? What we could take from that is that this picture was probably taken in, let's say, 1937. In 1937, Forrest would have been 6, and then he turned 7, of course, on August 22nd of 1937. So, okay, so there's a hint to 1937 here, but it says he's 17 years old. Well, let's look at a couple of the hints that we have in the Thrill of the Chase. One of them is that Eric Sloan lied about his age and who's who. He said he was born in 1910 instead of 1905, and he did that to make himself appear 5 years younger. Now, Forrest kind of brags about that in the Thrill of the Chase. And factually, it's actually true. If you look in Who's Who, it does say that Eric Sloan was born in 1910, and he wasn't. He was born in 1905. So as far as kind of hinting at here that he lied about his age, okay? For some reason, he's doing the opposite, I think. He's making himself appear older than he really is. And that's because he's showing us a young picture, and he shows 17 here. That's kind of the opposite of what Eric Sloan did. So clearly he's trying to draw attention to 1937, or he's trying to draw attention to when he would have been 17, which is 1947. Or better yet, if you read the hints in his book, you'll find that the time frame is likely around 1942 or 43. Well, actually, in 42, again, he would have been 12 prior to August 22nd, and then he turned 13 on August 22nd in 1942. There's quite a few hints in the book that point to that area, so that's one of the reasons why I mentioned it. So now let me get into a little bit of the other stuff that I was discussing, and I really didn't get into too much detail of some of it in those videos. I'm not going to go over what I already explained in the videos. So we have some facts here that, and hear me out first. I'm not going to explain all of these right now. The age to join the CCC was 17. The last year that the CCC existed, or operated, I should say, was 1942. Now, in my video, I show you the James T. Sabin Tower. That tower was built by the CCC in 1942. It's just south of Meadowlark Lake. And, of course, as I explained in my video, the Blackwater Creek fire that occurred on Highway 20 in between Cody and Yellowstone occurred, now listen closely, it occurred on August 21st, 1937. So it occurred when Forrest was 6 years old, a day before his birthday. Now remember, that happened in August. The Fenn family was actually in Yellowstone, camped at the fishing bridge in 1937. And according to the news of how that fire started, it started because of storms and lightning. Now, if you read the story in Thrill of the Chase, when Forrest goes out with Donnie looking for Lewis and Clark, his horse was, oddly enough, named Lightning. And he talks about starting the fire in there, and it was a good thing that they brought the map with them. And then he doesn't elaborate on it. So I'm guessing that they used the matches and that paper to start a campfire, right? Obviously. That fire at Blackwater Creek, like I mentioned in the video, killed 15 men. The first 10 men that died in there were the age 17 to 21 years old. And all of them, all 10 of them, were from Texas. Not only that, but they lived approximately 70 miles from Temple. So one's got to wonder if Forrest Fenn's father might have taught one of those kids, or perhaps a sibling of one of the people that died. Now, the thing to note is that here's the connection between Highway 20 over in Shoshone National Forest and the Bighorn. How did we get there? Well, the Blackwater Creek fire started in the Shoshone Forest, right there where I indicate in my video. Now, that's where the main blaze is, or I'm calling it a blaze. The fire itself is obviously a blaze by definition, but the blaze I'm talking about is the blaze that memorializes that the people that perished in that fire. That blaze is 70 feet long, and it's the first thing that you're going to see on that road when you leave Yellowstone as soon as you pass Newton Spring. Now, one thing you got to realize, and again, I mentioned this in my other video, a blaze marks the start of a trail, and then it marks your progress through the trail. Okay. I believe that the poem, when you get to the line that says, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. Your quest to find the blaze is what ceased. You found the blaze. That doesn't mean that you're anywhere near the chest. If it did, instead of saying, look quickly down your quest to cease, he would have said, just take the chest and go in peace. Now, he shouldn't have to lead you by the hand like a little kid and say, okay, here's the blaze. And now he's going to tell you to follow that trail in your mind. Okay. He's not going to do that. This is a puzzle. This is a treasure hunt, right? So if you went to that blaze and you look down on it, you're going to read it. You're going to find out that when you read the documentation, you're going to find out that all of this is associated with the Blackwater Creek fire. You're quickly going to find out that 15 men died, 10 of them are from Texas. And then if you read more in the guide, you're going to quickly find out that the blaze that's there on Highway 20 and the blazes that are up the Blackwater Creek Trail, up at the mountain peak where the men actually died, those are not the only blazes. There's one more blaze. And that final blaze is over in the Bighorn Mountains where I show you at Meadowlark Lake. Okay. It's on the east side of Meadowlark Lake. And it was made in 1937. When the fire occurred, James T. Sabin, when he died, I think he was the manager of the 10 guys from Texas. When he died, there's a ranger station there near Meadowlark Lake called the 10 Sleep. Okay. And his name used to be associated with that ranger station. But somebody purchased that property from the government. When that occurred, when that private citizen bought that property, you can no longer get to that ranger station. It's private property. So what they did is they renamed the tower at Meadowlark Lake after James T. Sabin. But that tower was created in 1942 by the CCC. So what I'm speculating here is maybe Forrest or his brother Skippy or Donnie or all three of them were actually part of the CCC. And they went there and either they built it or Skippy worked on it. And then Forrest was wandering around and Forrest seen all them boulders. I mean, it's an amazing place. You got to look at my videos. But they seen that. Maybe that's where he discovered the spot. Okay. So that'll make you think, well, okay, why would Forrest want to do that? Now, I briefly said this because I really didn't want to get into it and elaborate on it too much because it can be considered a conspiracy theory. I don't really see anything wrong with it. But so I'm going to mention it anyway again. But what if Forrest inadvertently, accidentally started that fire in 1937? And that fire, I mean, obviously, I don't think he would do something like that on purpose. Maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he knows somebody who did it. I don't know. Maybe he said it in his autobiography, the one that he included in the chest. If you remember and you go back and research, somebody asked Forrest why was that place special to him, and he said at first he said why it was special in his autobiography, but then he later went back before he put the chest out and he removed it. Why did he remove it? I don't know. Like I said, I don't think he would do something like this on purpose. Clearly, it would have been an accident. And maybe the reason why he joined CCC was kind of like, I mean, could you imagine how you would feel? So he's kind of going like to give back to the men that lost their life. Okay. I don't know. That's speculation. I don't know whether or not that happened or not. Maybe he just felt bad and he didn't have anything to do with the fire. Maybe just out of being kind, he wanted to help out because his father told him. He's sitting down at his birthday with his father. Father says, son, the fire happened last night. so and so died um, from near our hometown. Maybe it was a friend of the family, and they felt bad. I don't know. But if you read a lot of the hints that are in the thrill of the chase, a lot of them seem to indicate this area. Okay. And again, I'm not going to get into them all because I got into all of them in my 3-part video. But there's quite a bit of stuff there. And the other thing is the churches. Forrest says his church is in the mountains. Okay, well, along that video that I do, I show you a place called Wayfarer's Chapel. Now that's the first outdoor church. I mean, literally, just no building. It's the first church, so it's going to be on your left as soon as you cross over to the North Fork of the Shoshone River and go down a bit of ways past the Sleeping Giant. It'll be on your left hand side. Okay, I don't know whether you research it or not, but a wayfarer is a person who travels on foot. So you got to wonder, could that be a reference to not far but too far to walk? What does a wayfarer do if the place that they're going to is too far to walk? They can't travel there by foot. Now, think about this for a moment. The distance from the Wayfarer's Chapel to the Blackwater Creek fire is not really all that far. It's a long walk, but I'm sure it could be done. I think it's even within 10 miles, right? However, when you get to that blaze, and like I said, if you research it in the local documents that existed, these are travel brochures. I'm not talking about extensive research. These are travel brochures, maps, okay? But when you get to a blaze, instinctively, you should be thinking, I'm going to follow that blaze to the end. Well, the end is going to be in the Bighorn Mountains, okay? And it's going to be at Meadowlark Lake. And that's how I came, and I jumped from there all the way over 100 miles away to Bighorn. Well, he's telling you, it's going to be too far to walk. And when you reach the blaze, again, it says your quest ceased. But what if your quest was only to find the blaze? Remember, he tells us that we seek his trove. He gives us a title. Your quest has ceased just simply means, okay, you found the blaze. And Terry Scant with Marvel Gaze at the blaze is telling you to look at that blaze, understand that blaze, and follow that blaze trail to where it leads you. Now, I know that Forrest didn't do, I shouldn't say I know. I highly doubt that Forrest did that 12-mile hike from that blaze up to Clayton Peak where the fire was. That's not an easy hike. There's no way he did it 4 times, there and back twice and carrying 20 pounds each time. I just don't think so. Plus there's a lot of people go on that trail, right? So I just don't believe that. So in any case, even if he did, it doesn't matter. Those are not the end of the trail. The end of the trail is where the first 10 men died, which is over at Meadowlark. So we follow the blaze trail. Now, when we get to Bighorn, we tarry scout with Marvel Gaze. Okay. Well, when you're standing there at that place where the memorial is at the Meadowlark Lake, and you look, you're going to quickly notice the fire tower, which, by the way, is an historical place. It's not going anywhere. It's in the historic registry. It's maintained. It's going to be there, especially now that they named it after James D. Sabin. The other thing that you could use as hints for that is, you remember how Forrest talks about his BB gun? He said the sight was bent, and anytime he wanted to shoot meadowlarks, he had to aim to the side because the sight was bent. Well, 2 things. First of all, if you were in that tower looking north, the memorial would be on the right, on the side of the lake. You'd have to shift your gun left to shoot at Meadowlark Lake. The second thing, inside of all of those fire towers is a device that they use to check the distance and the radial from the tower to where the fire location is, so that they can relay that to the firemen that are on the ground. It's called an Osborn device. And that's exactly how you use it. You sight down a wire to the fire and you rotate it so it's pointing at the fire. And then there's another thing that they adjust to estimate the distance from the tower out to where the fire is. So the Osborn device is used. You sight down it like a gun. Okay? So all of those hints could be the same thing. Again, his father is up in the clouds looking down at him, sometimes burning a candle at both ends. Well, if you look from that tower, the highest peak in the Bighorn Mountains is Cloud Peak, which happens to be in row 4, block 23 of the PLSS chart for that area. Now, burning a candle at both ends. Well, burning is referring to a fire, right? So one end of the candle is over on Cloud Peak, where we are with the chest. Guess where the left end of the candle would be? It would be over where the Blackwater Creek fire is. Okay. Now, just to the right, if you were looking north from the tower, is the second outdoor church. You go to the church, you light a fire for the dead. Okay, they show their respect. You light a fire. If he's burning a candle and he's burning it at both ends, he's burning one of them where the first Blackwater Memorial is, which incidentally, there's also a Cloud Peak over there. And then the right side would be the side on the eastern Bighorn. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. And I do in the video, so I don't want to make this one too long. You know, like I said, go watch the video. These are a couple things that may or may not be. I don't know. I'm just going to mention them anyway. When Forrest Fenn posts on Dow's website, he sometimes uses the alias Forest Fire. The second thing is Forrest home on the ID card, 1413 North Main Street, Temple, Texas. Okay. What happened to that house? Go look at it in Google Earth. It's burned down. Okay. That's what happened to it. Not once, but twice. This goes back again that maybe, you know, all these references to fire. And I'm not saying Forrest lit his house on fire. I mean, maybe he did by accident. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that these references to fire are all over the place. You got his house burning down twice. Okay. And then you got the Blackwater Creek. You know, if you're leaving Yellowstone and you think Warm Waters Halt's in Yellowstone, you're leaving. If the next thing you're looking for is a blaze, you know, you can't ask for any other blaze. That is the blaze. I mean, it's a huge fire. I mean, there's a big memorial there. I know there was a fire in Yellowstone in 1988. It was really bad. But that's not the fire. And to be honest with you, there's fires in Yellowstone every year. There was a couple of them last year. You know, my partner told me. I had told my partner about it, and I'm like, oh, I see there's a fire there. And he just laughed. He goes, yeah, it's every year. Every year there's something going on like that. So anyway, I don't know what you guys think. You know, please click the like button below if you like this. I hope it answers your question. Please subscribe. It encourages me to do more videos. And again, be sure to go watch the 3-part video that I just made about a week or two ago. It explains a lot of it in detail. And now that I put this video out, it should clarify some of that stuff. So have a good day, everyone. Peace.